this was how much specimen you can get. Now when you have toenails that are falling apart like this, it's really easy to get tons of specimen, but it might not always be of very good quality. Because fungi grow like fairy rings. You know how fairy rings grow in the forest, the mushrooms? You have an initial colony, and then it spreads outwards as it uses up the nutrient. So the stuff in the centre is dead, and only the stuff on the advancing edge is alive. So when you're taking a skin scraping, you want to sample the advancing edge. Almost all this stuff up here will be dead. It might give us a cosmic microscopy, but we won't be able to grow it. It's actually right on the very edges that we want to get sampled, where the organism is still alive. Again, with this one, there's still plenty to sample. It might be a bit more difficult, but there's still plenty to sample. And again, plenty to sample. Which brings us to hair, though, which is a little bit difficult. Sometimes you get soft, boggy lesions on the head, and they're often have bacteria in them as well. So you may want to take a swab as well, and then we'll say, yeah, well, perhaps we should culture that. And sometimes you cannot really take a scalpel to it, so you will need to use the swab. The Medicare guidelines do not actually allow for you to take swabs from fungal specimens. They haven't seen patients like this. No way that guy's going to let you go near it with a scalpel blade.
Yeah, no way.
Okay.
So do we know what that was just on there?
That was just a candida infection. Yeast and lesions of candida. They're all tiny little fairy rings. Well, maybe not fairy is appropriate in this case. Okay. Now with the scalps again, sometimes the specimen is actually hidden. When you get a lesion like this, they may request a wood light, which is not something you actually have to do. Us in the lab do it by shining the UV light around. And the fungus actually fluoresces green, and we can tell what the sort of fungus is on the spot. But this wood light also demonstrates the fact that you can't see the hairs here, or you might just see them as little black dots, but you can actually see where the fungus is. It's inside those things, isn't it? And that's what it looks like. This is the sheath of the hair, well, not quite exact, and this stuff inside is all the fungus. And this, is, again, is the sheath of the hair, it's cut lengthwise, with the fungus in the middle. So scraping the skin is not going to work in these cases. You actually want those little stubs of hair, so you get there with your tweezers and you pluck them out, because that's where the fungus is, inside the middle of the hair. Because it does precisely that, it changes the colour of the skin. On a white person you'll get brown lesions, on a brown person you'll get white lesions. But it is very important in this one in particular to get plenty of specimen, because this one will not grow on culture, it will only be seen on the microscopy, because it is dependent on oils and you have to actually submerge it under sterile oil and all sorts of funny things to grow it. So we're relying on the microscopy to diagnose this one. And that's actually what it looks like on culture. Very, very nice diagnostic microscopy. It's got these short fat hyphae and these little spores in there. We call it spaghetti meatballs.